that's the first one. All I'm going to do is I'm going to machine one end of all of these. Once I've machined that one end, that'll be our datum. We can start marking out the holes then. The other end, what will be happening with that is it'll have a radius. We're going to file a radius on the end of it. Right, I shall get on with that, and then when I've got all four with one end done, we'll go down to the bench and I'll show you what's what. Right, it's a couple of days later now. Today's Tuesday. Yeah, today's Tuesday. I was at the railway yesterday, so I didn't come in the workshop at all. Right, these are the little stretches that we machined on Sunday. What I'm going to do today, I'm going to do the marking out and the drilling of the holes which go through here. And then once we've done that, we'll go to the milling machine and we'll mill the bottom parts out here like that. Right, so let's have a look what we're doing then. I'll bring in a bit closer so you can see what's going on. This will be the hole or the pivot for the brake rigging. I like using this because it gives me some consistency. Once it's set, and that's it. And you've got something to put up against, so you've got a definite position. You just put your rule on, you could be anywhere. Right, that's that. Right, so that's the middle of that. What we're going to do now is set the width of it, so it's 10mm thick this plate is, or this bar. So we're going to do it in metric. If it's not perfectly and on centre, it's not that much of a problem, because what you'll do is you'll mark from one side and turn around and mark from the other side. So you'll have two lines. All you got to do is hit the distance or half the distance between the two lines and you're there. Alright, let's just there's a magnet on the end of this and it sticks to everything. Right. Just turn it round. Be sure we're in the centre. It's very close indeed, that is. In fact, what we'll do, we'll put the line all the way down. That's good enough. That's pretty good, that does. Fellas, tapping stick, there it is. I've actually got, I didn't show you this, I'll show you something. I'll just bring you up so you can see what I'm doing. Right, just behind you on the shelf, I've got something to show you. Look at this extraordinary contraption. You're wondering what this is? Well, it's a pair of magnifying glasses. So you can see, obviously these go around your ears. This goes on the bridge of your nose here. Yeah, and then this is the lens. There's 5 different lenses that comes with it. And I found this one seemed to be better for me. I look like a bit of a lunatic, to be honest with you. And put these on. But what it means is I've got 2 free hands now and I can see clearly now. That comes into real good focus just there, so it's whatever that distance is there, maybe 6 inches. Because I can't see very well close to me, but I can see great, at a distance. So it does present some problems, and I needed to get something like this. And one of the friends down at the railway, he got a headpiece on, not the same as this, but the same kind of thing. And I just had to go of it, and I thought, yeah, I need to get one of them. So I did. I picked this up at the Model Engineering exhibition in October down at Leamington Spa. It wasn't expensive. It'll be made in China like everything else, but it'll still do the job. So I can actually see what I'm doing now. So I'll just bring you down, you can see then. The camera looks massive now. There you go. We're on the block now, look. That's our 4 pieces there. Alright, so I can see what I'm doing. It's a really big help. Because before what I was doing, I was using my magnifying glass, so I'd have to try and get in, and if I needed to do dot punching with a hammer, I'd need 2 hands. You've got to hold that as well, you couldn't do it. The only thing with these sort of glasses things is that they're not for impact or anything like that. So you couldn't use them on the lathe or on a drilling machine if somebody got swarf flying at you. You couldn't do that. It's not designed for that. We're not going to be mad with these. Like I said, we don't need a massive pot mark. These last a long time, centre punches, dot punches. I've had these over 40 years now. I bought some new ones a few years ago, well, about 2 or 3 years ago. I got some Starrett ones here. And I use them if I'm doing any precision work because they're really good, they are. That's interesting. That's moved. And it's coming back now. Nice. So oven. Alright, ready to set up on the drill now and we'll start drilling. Alright, we're on the drilling machine now. We're going to drill our first hole, which is that one there, which is going to be the top hole. Let's see what I'm doing here. I just put this in grip. No problem at all. I don't put a parallel in. You can't get a parallel underneath these. There's no space to put one because of the size of the component. That looks pretty good. That's the top one. In case any of you were wondering, that swarf did burning. It's crap burn. Right, that's our first hole. Let's just clean this down. There you are. That's it. Get those rubbish. Right. Let's have a look. Alright, we've drilled our first hole in these 4 little stretches. Can you see there? Yeah, you can see that. You can see we've marked out all the other holes. Can you see them? Hopefully it's focusing. Now, I've been looking at these. If we got a 4mm bolt in the top, like that there, yeah. Because of the pitch, we have another one there, and then another one the same distance further down. We've actually got them too close together. So what I've decided to do is just put 2 bolts in to hold these in place. I think if there was something like 5BA, 6BA or whatever, it wouldn't be a problem having 3 in. But with them being 4mm, they wouldn't look right. It'd be too close. So what we're going to do is we're going to omit the middle one. And so we're just going to put a 4mm hole in there. Yeah, can you see that now? Put a 4mm hole in that 3rd hole down, or 3rd pot mark down, and the pin, the pivot pin for the linkage mechanism will be 4mm as well. So I'll probably make it out of one of these bolts. Right, so what we'll do is we'll start drilling the holes, and everything will become obvious to you then what we're doing. So I've drilled the bottom one as well, which is the actual hanger pin now. Should be good. Right, there we are. So we've now got 3 holes. Right, let's have a look. Now we've got 3 holes in our piece. Yeah. We're omitting that one there. It fits in that way like that. So that's the top hole, it's the bottom one, and that's the hanger pin. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill all the others, and then when we've done that, I'll let you have a look what we've got. Alright, that's all up and drilled now. You can see, I'm just repositioning it in hand. There you go, can you see? We've got all the holes drilled. So there we are. What we can do now is we can have a look at milling this bottom face here. It fits in that way. So we've got to mill the bottom face, fit the hanger in, and you put the pin through then. So we're going to go to the milling machine now, and we're going to start looking at setting up and determine exactly what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. So what I was looking at here is, with that being a thin component, it makes it very awkward that we can't get a parallel up against that jaw there, that fixed jaw. So what I thought was we could make like a dummy jaw that would fit in here, which would span that rough cast bit there and sit on the bottom of the machined slides or guides. Yeah. And we can put a piece of steel in there. That's 2 inch by 1/2 inch, that is. And that's actually spanned that rough cast bit. So if we cut a piece off at 6 1/4, we can use that for when we're machining thin pieces, because then I can just put a parallel straight down onto the guides, put the work straight on top, clamp it, and job done. I haven't got to put a parallel underneath and start messing around with all kinds of stuff. So let's have a look at doing that. I mean, there's another way we could do it. We could make a new jaw for this, or a new replaceable fixed jaw. And just make it thicker. We could get some gauge plate and make it out of gauge plate, which would be good enough for that. Be an interesting little project. Quite a bit to it, but for the time being we're going to do this. I'm going to cut this off at 6 1/4 inches, which is the width. 6 1/4 is near enough. And what's the depth? Yeah, 2 inches is good enough, see. So we'll cut it off on the saw. Right, a few days later now, and I've come back in the workshop today. I've had a lot of things on this last few days. And I've come back in the workshop today though. I thought I'd continue with our little stretchers, the brake hanger stretchers. And I was just thinking about how I'm going to hold them. You've seen us make the dummy jaw, which I've got on the vise here. That 2 inch by 1/2 inch piece of bright drawn mild steel bar that we cut the other day. And I was thinking to myself, I don't want to keep setting each one up individually, because what we're going to do is we're going to mill like a sort of castle on top here, so it's a bit castellated. That's the feature that we need. I don't want to set each one up individually and put the, the edge finder and stuff on and all that kind of thing. I want to just put them all together and do the milling operation in one, so they're all the same. And I was thinking, that's an interesting thought. Because our bottom, that's the actual top piece there. It's been milled nice and square and flat. We did that last video before, quite remember. So, what I thought we would do is we would take these parallels out, and I'll put a simple block in. And that's about 1 1/4 by about 5/8, something like that. Just bright drawn mild steel. That'll be quite satisfactory for what it is. I need to get some material to make parallels out of. Some gauge plate would be good. It'd be very useful to get some. Now if I put that there and I just sit all these on top of that, that'll probably give us what we want. When you bring it down, you can have a better look at what we're doing. Alright, I've moved you down a bit lower now so you can see a bit better what we're doing. And what I've done is I've put a piece of bar in here, and I've got 2 parallels underneath just to pack that up. What I need to make sure is we've got a minimum of 7/16 clearance depth here. It's about 1/2 inch, so we should be okay with that. And what I'm going to do, because we've got a nice flat bottom on the bottom of these, they've been machined, I'm just going to push them all up against my roll, and then we're going to pinch it up. I'm going to check that. I'm going to tighten it up there. We don't want this to come out at all. Not be tight enough for what it is. Let's just make sure they're down. Before we put the cutter in, we've got to find out where the edges are. So we're going to fit our Starrett edge finder. Nice little unit that is. Use that, find the edges, so we can find the centre, so we know exactly where we are. Just put this in. Okay. That's it going. So there we are. That's how you set your centre. I'll just bring you down so you can look in front. It's always a good check to have a look where it actually sits, where the centre finder sits in relation to your work. So if it looks, if it's on centre. Let me bring you down and show you. Does that look on centre to you? Looks pretty good, doesn't it? It's not far off at all. Alright, I've got myself a little 1/8 end mill in here. Now according to the numbers on the end mill, it's actually, the flutes are 3/8 to 1 inch deep, but we need to go 7/16. So we're going to go through nice and easy with this, and we're going to just see if we can actually cut the slot, see if we're okay with that. If we need to, I can open the slot up a little bit and it will give me some clearage for the brake linkage. But anyway, what we're going to do is we're just going to touch off, and that's the lowest one at the back there. We're going to touch off on the top, we'll zero the Z axis. And then what we'll do is we'll start machining this out nice and steady. It's going to be a long job because we're going to take small cuts. It's a very fine end mill, so we don't want to break anything. Alright, I've just touched off on top here. That's the lowest one at the back. It's dead centre now. Got it to 0 on the digital readout. You can't see that, it's just over there. But then what we're going to do now is we're going to put a cut on with the Z axis, and we're going to keep working until we get to the right depth, which is 7/16. I just need to undo the table lock. I've turned the light on as well, so you should be able to see a little bit better perhaps. Hope it doesn't glare you out. So, let's put on 50, eh? Let's just see how we go with that. Total depth you want, was it 4375, 7/16? Alright, let's get going. pretty good, that is, so far. That's 100 thousandths, thereabouts. Just clear the slot out. Important to get the swarf out of the slot. Chip evacuation is important on your cutters. Really is important. Right, let's put another cut on now. Right, I'll bring you back when we get a bit further down the slot.